please welcome from Chicago, Laura Emerick.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, everyone, for coming out for the second to the last film in the fabulous 10th Annual Plaza Classic Film Festival. I'm already starting to feel nostalgic. You know, I've had a great time here, and I'm dreading going back home, even though it's, Chicago, it's got its charms, but it doesn't have a theater like this, and it certainly doesn't have a film festival of this scale either. So I count my blessings every time I get to head down El Paso way in the summer, so thank you for that. And I also wanted to thank Lori Koval, because she segued into this movie perfectly by playing "We'll Meet Again, Don't Know How, Don't Know When," and that's the way I feel about El Paso right now, because it's like already counting the days till next year. So anyway, thank you. And if you've seen Dr. Strangelove, you'll know that movie plays is played at a crucial moment in the film, and I won't. Who has not seen this film? I can't believe no one has not seen this film. Okay, everybody has. All right, so you know, I'm not doing a spoiler. So it's played over the final frames of this film, which is, could it be more topical than it is now? I mean, we have a president who is threatening to rain fire and fury down on one of our arch enemies, and I'm thinking, I don't think he's ever seen Dr. Strangelove, because if he had, he would never make such a ridiculous statement. Absolutely no way. But here we are, and this is the world we live in. 50 years later, this movie is so timely, as well as being hilarious. Interestingly enough, it came out the same year as Failsafe. Did anyone see Failsafe earlier in the festival run? Because the both program is part of the whole Cold War theme of this year's festival. And it's strange because Failsafe had Henry Fonda and Stanley Kubrick, of course the director and co-writer of this film, Dr. Strangelove, was worried that if Failsafe somehow managed to get to the theaters first, since both are being produced by Columbia Pictures, that his film would suffer. So he engineered it such that Failsafe was out 8 months afterwards, and part of the reason that Failsafe sort of tanked at the box office was because this film was such a success, and of course it was a satire based on the very same theme that Failsafe covered. And Henry Fonda later said, like, hey, if I'd seen Dr. Strangelove, I wouldn't have been in Failsafe. So, but it was kind of dirty pool, but you know, very political on Kubrick's part, but I guess, you know, who could blame him? Because both films are traced back to a source novel, Red Alert, by Peter George. Although, in the case of Failsafe, the authors of that particular book, called Failsafe, didn't acknowledge the tie and were sued and settled out of court with Peter George. Anyway, not to belabor this, but it's just interesting all the parallels between these particular films. And while Kubrick was turning Dr. Strangelove into the screenplay, he realized, oh, maybe we better not play it straight, because it was intended as a political thriller. He thought, there's so many ridiculous points in this film, it would really work better as a comedy. So he brought in Terry Southern, who was a rising talent at the time, and they turned the script into a social satire, and gave us the film we know and love now. They brought in a stellar cast, of course Peter Sellers in a triple role as President, I always mispronounce it, Merkin Muffley or something, who was based on Adlai Stevenson, sort of like this ineffectual Politico type. He's also playing, was it Colonel Mandrake, British Army officer, and then of course Dr. Strangelove, who is modeled on, many people have said Henry Kissinger, others have said Edward Teller, but it's quite the performance. Peter Sellers was also going to play a fourth role, actually the role of King Kong, which went to, excuse me, I'm circle cold, ended up going to Slim Pickens because, one, Peter Sellers supposedly couldn't master the Texas accent, which I have a hard time believing because Peter Sellers could do everything. And then also I think this is more likely, he injured his ankle, and he thought, I'm not up to the challenge of doing 4 roles. He would just cut it off for 3. And we also have in the cast, of course, George C. Scott as General Buck Turgidson. Great names, and they're all like double entendres. Coming out of retirement was Sterling Hayden as General Jack the Ripper, the man who puts the whole plot in action. We also have, gosh, now I've lost my train of thought. Anyone yell, who's another famous character actor in this movie that I've forgotten to mention? Keenan Wynn is, yes, Bat Guano. Just it goes on and on. It's an amazing cast. What? Slim Pickens, we were talking about him as James Earl Jones in one of his first roles. Yes, thank you. And apparently, Slim Pickens had never been out of the United States when he was signed to make this movie, and they had to hold up production for a month so he could get his passport and head over to England to make the film. Amazing. It was simpler times back then. And this film, of course, has brought so many wonderful lines into the lexicon, like precious bodily fluids, you know what I'm talking about. Gentlemen, you can't fight in the war room, or I think I actually reversed that, yes. And there's just so many great quotable lines. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, didn't win anything, unfortunately. But it is now ranking at number 54 on IMDb's top 250 list, which that's a pretty incredible assessment, I would say. I mean, I like this film. I don't know, well, whatever. Okay, that's just me. But many people think that this is Kubrick's best film, along with 2001 and and I can't think of the one now that came out in 57 with Kirk Douglas. Yes, thank you. But in it also, apparently there was a plan to make a sequel to this. When Terry Southern died in 1995, they found among his papers outline for Strangelove 20 years, well, 30 years later at that point. And it would be focusing on Dr. Strangelove, who, of course, you know, at the end of the film, he talks about, yes, civilization could survive in an underground bunker. We'll have to have a men-to-female ratio of 10 to 1, 10 women to 1 male. And so it was going to veer off on that avenue and take it from there. And Kubrick apparently was thinking of Terry Gilliam, the great director of Brazil and other classics, as the one to helm it, or direct it, and it never came to pass. Maybe somebody out there in the great screen universe could resurrect the project, because that's something I would pay to see. I think you would too. But anyway, I won't rattle on more. I really appreciate your being here. So happy, again, to attend this festival in this fabulous theater, and like the song says, we'll see you again, right? I'm screwing up my quote. Thank you. Bye.